So hello my dear brothers and boys, today we will play Kaiserredux, but with the borders of 2025. I did my best to replicate the borders of modern Europe, Asia, Africa, North America and so on. Of course I left some factions in India and China to make the gameplay more enjoyable, and so I did with Italy. However, the balance of power didn't shift radically, so it's gonna be pretty interesting to look at this schizophrenic Europe. I didn't find tags of Central African Republic and Nigeria, so I gave those territories to Nigerian Free State and Wadai. Without further ado, let's enjoy the Kaiserredux with the borders of the modern world. It looks like the collapse of the German Congo has started. Yeah, the Middle Africa has died, so only a few German colonies has left in Africa, and that's Morocco, Nigerian Free State, Congo and Kenya. So Russian Kaliningrad has turned into Free State and faced Prussia. Honestly, that's not the worst decision for Russians, as now they've got a major foothold in Central Europe. Wait a second, Mr. Göring is alive. So he fought against Lenin, but even that noble animal couldn't kill such a mysterious leader. Now I truly believe that Göring can survive everything. Don't forget that he can technically unite the whole Africa once again. My lovely man who smokes 100 cigars per day, William Murray, is a new president of the United States. So the uprising of our black friends is gonna be inevitable. The black belt will uprise once again. It looks like Austria wants to create the Danubian Federation, and now they are fighting against the Kingdom of Hungary. Meanwhile, Serbians have joined the Russian alliance. Brudas, is that the alliance of Slavic Brotherhood? Even Entente has received a major foothold in Europe in face of Norway, which has joined this alliance a few days ago. In my opinion, it is a perfect place to land into Union of Britain. Oh hell no man, woman is ruling the Union of Britain, so this state should be destroyed for sure. Hell yeah, Sigma Edward VIII should come back to Britain and destroy the rule of woman, cause only a based man can rule a based country, a based British Empire. Bro definitely looks like a Sigma Floppa. Oh, here is a picture of Sigma Floppa. And here is Edward VIII. Now you should find 10 differences between these pictures. Hell yeah, my lovely Liska has become independent under the rule of Alaskan business interests. You know what? Their flag is an awesome one, as it includes polar bear. And you know what? I love polar bears. Guys, I don't think that Russians are interested in restoring even the puppet states in the Baltics, as they have entirely annexed both Latvia and Estonia, while the Eastern Europe, especially ones that in the Rex Pact, should worry about its fate, and also about the Russian invasion on its lands. Oh, so my lovely African Shizu has finally started his expansion into Congo, and he also has an ability to expand northern and southern to conquer North Rhodesian, Kenya and Uganda. Like I said, he's going to restore the Middle Africa. Wait, how did you actually consume the Armenian lands? I actually thought that it is impossible to be done. At least before the Middle Eastern War. So the Reichspakt is expanding, and this time they received a new ally in face of Kingdom of Spain, which is gonna be a useful ally against the Commune of France, as they will open the second front line, but this time on Iberian Peninsula. There are not enough wars for Russia, and for Eastern Republic is just boring to them, so they have additionally decided to attack Alessia autonomy, cause why not? Getting back Kazakh lands is an important part of Central Asian strategy. Empire of Brazil? Welcome back on the world stage, Bruda. Alright though, goodbye Central Asian Bukharan People's Soviet Republic, as soon you're gonna be conquered by the Russian Republic. And they've got no chances to defend their capital and some other cities, as 90% of their forces are now in eastern Turkestan. I don't know how, but even without taking Chita, Vladivostok or some other cities of far eastern Russia, The Far Eastern Republic has capitulated and technically Russia is united once again. It looks like Russians together with Socialist Republic of Iran have united Caucasus under the Russian rule. Yeah, it's a pretty strange alliance, just like it is in the real life, but nevertheless. This game gave us some connections of Kaiserredux and the year 2025. Bulgaria, my lovely Bulgaria, attacking the Romanian legionary kingdom was a bad decision, since now we are fighting against the entire Entente. And while I'm sure that you've got zero chances to win this war, so Bulgaria is going to become yet another member of Entente. And now its positions are going to be united from Athens to Bucharest. On 4th of September 1939, Russians have attacked the Eastern Europe, thus starting the Second Weltkrieg. The situation is good for Russians as they've got some good positions near Ukraine, Belarus and Lithuania. And don't forget that Poland is also a member of the Reichspakt, so the gates to Berlin are now opened. And 2 weeks later, the Federation of the Commune of France declared war on the German Empire. The current situation is interesting because we can't be sure who is going to win this war, Germans or France together with Russia. That's a pretty good question. What's even more interesting and crucial is that New England has joined the Third International. De facto, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto and the rest of the Canadian cities are now under a huge threat of the attack of communards. If Germans build a defense by Rhine River, they can probably hold on the French offensive. Ain't no way Qin Empire is making a great comeback. I think that today they are going to unite China under their rule. Okay, I have never seen such a division of Burma and such states. Ain't no way is that a promised German counteroffensive, cause they have entered Alsace-Lorraine, which was abandoned by Germans since 1936 when I gave this region to France. It looks like Germans together with Austrians are making some major successes all across the Europe. Like I said, Bulgarians are cooked. They've got zero chances to stand against the Entente. The Moscow Accord in face of Serbia is now surrounded with the forces and allies of Entente. This scene is pretty rare, so I'm happy that we're playing such a unique campaign with an unexpected outcome. A truly unexpected outcome. So, any last words? United States. The Empire of Japan is conquering Australia. Now you have seen everything in this life. Okay, Alaska is fighting against Canada. That is pretty weird. Well, it looks like Germany isn't gonna make it since the Commune of France is making some major gains in depths of the German territories. However, the situation on the Eastern Front is much better, so probably Germans can hold on and counterattack the communards. Guys, the most important war in the world has just started. Gabon declared war on Cameroon. It seems that Russians are advancing on the right bank of Dnieper River, where they have already captured Kryvyi Rih and Sichyslav. Oh well, Canadians together with the Pacific states are still fighting against the crazy woman from Alaska. Yeah, that's Eliza Rosenbaum, a libertarian woman. Oh no, her capital has moved away to the Kodiak Island, a homeland of the Kodiak bear. That is surely not the best thing that could ever happen with Kodiak bears. Brudas, you won't believe me, but something is actually happening in South America, where Brazil together with Bolivia are fighting against Chile, and also Argentina is a puppet of Brazil, as well as Araucania and Uruguay. So technically the Empire of Brazil is uniting the whole of South America. Bro, excuse me, but how did you actually get there without ever controlling Suja? No, Germany, you must hold on. Berlin must not fall. No, 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 no. That's the end for the German Kaiserreich. Goodbye, my love. Goodbye forever. Dude, everything looks like we're going to see a great mess because radical socialists from the Pacific States of America are going to fight against the radical socialists from New England. which is a part of the Third International, so technically leftists are going to fight against leftists, and yeah, they are already doing that because Commune of France has joined this war. So if only Germany held on for a few more months, they would probably stand against the communards, but no, they have to fight one by one against the Pacific states. Establishing a socialist Catalonia, which isn't a part of Spain, was a pretty weird decision. Ain't no way Kiev is surrounded, they've got some major troubles in Ukraine. That's what they call Make America Great Again because they signed a peace with the Federation of the Commune of France? That's because they have occupied Baja California. Wow, what a weird treaty we can get. It doesn't even include New England, no, it's just Baja California. That's what they call California dreaming on such a winter's day. So the solidarists have united Russia and… why am I not surprised? Why does the new Russian border reminds me the border of the Soviet Union? Yeah, we've got some technical exceptions like Chernivtsi and Königsberg, but who cares about them? That's a border of the Soviet Union. However, if you're interested in the Pacific region, Taiwan is still alive and nobody cares about it, so it can simply exist and enjoy the life. Wow, what a cool flag they have. There is also a new alliance on the map known as the Rexpact Remnants, and it includes only African countries, so technically we can see the reborn of Rexpact, but in Africa. However, Mr. Göring isn't a part of it. Goodbye my beloved Vienna Schnitzel. One day we will meet again, but in a better form. Bro is a true slowpoke. The Kingdom of Canada declared war on the Union of Britain, and that has happened only on December 31st, 1941. At the time when Germany and Austria were already divided between Russia and France, Canada has finally decided to enter this war. And again, they've got New England right close to them, which is an amazing foothold for the troops of the Third International. Yeah, I think that Canadians are cooked. Oops, now they've got a front line in Europe. So Syrians have declared war on Turkey, and that is the first time I see such an outcome. So let's see who would win, Turkey or Syria. But don't forget that Syria is also a member of the Cairo Axis, so there's gonna be a truly interesting war. Turks against all the Arabs. Unexpectedly, the Syrian front line is collapsing under the pressure of the Turkish forces, so they've got chances not only to capture Damascus, but also to make a great revenge and capture Cairo or Alexandria. Who knows what will happen in the upcoming years. Dude, Canada is cooked. Just look at that. Look what has happened with Canadians. Oh my god. Well, that was kinda predictable, cause they control the entire Atlantic Ocean. So the only way to save Entente is to start the Third World War between St. Petersburg or Petrograd and Paris. Yeah, that's the only way to save the capitalist world. Cause even Americans turned out to be communists. No, that's not the 13th Russo-Turkish war, it is 14th Turco-Russisch war. Are you kidding me? Bro is fighting against Turks once again. So instead of starting the Third World War, Moscow decided to liberate Constantinople. Excuse me, are we repeating some events because New England declared war on the Pacific States of America. However, previously, Pacific States of America declared war on New England, so this time we've got something different. So the Anglo-America is fighting against the Europeans and the Mexicans, so once again. Now Canadians and Americans have become the best friends because both of them are fighting against Paris. In my opinion, these are the best circumstances to start the Third World War right here and right now. This is the official beginning of the Third Weltkrieg and the beginning of the end for the Commune of France and the Third International, as now they are fighting with the half of the world. Dude, why did you decide to attack Bosnia-Herzegovina? What did they actually do to you? Oh, sorry Brudas, I understood everything. That's because of the local Bosnian Hitler, Mehmet Hitler from Bosnia. Mehmet Hitler. Paris against Moscow. Hell yeah, let's check who will win this war. It looks like Mexicans doesn't cook in this situation and Americans are coming to annex them. Honestly, I don't think that New England is a good situation right now because they have lost Boston and in a few days or weeks they are going to capitulate and thus they will lose lots of port cities, meaning that lots of communards will be stuck in Quebec and they will have to learn French. That's the best punishment you can imagine. Just like I said, in a few days they have capitulated, and take a look at this. By looking at that, we can say that communards are not cooking in North America. Well, does it look like borders of 2025 at least in Europe? I don't think so. However, in Africa the situation with border is much better than in Europe. They have stayed almost the same. So, is that the end for the Third International? Well, we will see that. But fortunately for Russians, they have already captured Berlin and the next stop is of course gonna be Paris. Boys, just take a look at this potential encirclement. Doesn't it look crazy enough? Especially considering the fact that war is going only for a few months, but Russians have gained a major success in it. Meanwhile, Luxembourg is just sitting and chilling. Ain't no way they actually did it. Lots of Germans are now encircled right here near Leipzig. So there are a lot of forces that are sitting in this cauldron. And the situation is no better in Western Germany and France, because there are no forces to defend it, and Germans are actually defending France from being invaded by Russians. So, any last words, приятель? Brudas, I think that's how the Blitzkrieg looks like. That's the prime example of fate. Wait, is that a true scenario that is going to happen in the real life? In May 1943, the Paris has fallen under the pressure of the Russian Republic and now they are aiming to reach Marseille and Rome. While the things are getting even hotter in this region. Good luck everybody, the communards are falling faster than anyone could even imagine. Excuse me France, but where are your forces? Where are your 50 divisions? Please tell me that. And now it's your turn to capitulate, old woman. Finally, the Ottomans were divided and as a result of partitions, Russians got nothing profitable from this war as the main part of the Turkey was occupied by the Kingdom of Egypt. Well, that is not the outcome that Russians supposed to see. Russian naval invasion to Morocco doesn't look fun at all, since we should just imagine the Russian capabilities and the Russian fleet so they can do such an operation. The next step is London and the weird woman. The Empire of Brazil is a new member of Entente, which is nice for an old alliance, as they've got a new fresh blood into the alliance, which will make them great once again, since now the positions of the Entente are much better than they used to be. Now they control not only some minor countries in Europe, but they also have got some major positions in South America, controlling Brazil, Argentina and even Chile. Oh yeah, Horatian Commune has finally united in the Pakistan. Dominion of Iceland? Well, that is surely something new, especially after looking at its flag and its new ruler. Now that looks really interesting. The Icelandic variation of British monarchy is something new, especially after looking at the name of Edward VIII. We understand everything about this island. This is a truly crazy island. as its language is unpronounceable. Organic Republic of Algeria? Wait a second. Does a plastic one exist in this world? Is it 100% grass-fed to be called organic? I'm not sure about that, especially after looking at the local Hitler, Algerian Hitler. A Bosnian one is already defeated, so it's time to defeat the Adolf Hitler from Algeria. Alright, a new Russian flag? Well, it's hard to say something about it because that is an insane mix of ideologies. You know, for an average person, combining Ukrainian trident with the Russian flag looks like a Russo-Ukrainian union rather than a unique Russian ideology. It's hard to describe it to an average person who doesn't know anything about solidarists. Alright, so we have come to the point where Russians declared war on Norway, but that's not an average Russo-Norwegian war because, as you probably remember, Norway is a member of the Entente, which means that now Russians are fighting not only against the Third International, but against the Entente as well. Honestly, I don't think that fighting in the Arctic Circle is actually a great idea. That is surely not the best place for the full-scale war. The Moscow Accord is going to expand once again because the Socialist Republic of Iran declared war on Iraq, which sounds pretty formidable, but nevertheless, it means that Russians are going to join this war and it's gonna be a full-scale war against the Cairo Axis, meaning that Moscow Accord is going to fully dominate the Middle East and Northern Africa. And finally, the straits are going to be under the Russian control. I'm wondering how good can everything go for just a single alliance. Summer 1945 became special because we finally saw the birth of the Qin Empire, which is now fighting against Mongolians and Tibet is its puppet. Alright. The only part of China which is still independent is the eastern Turkestan, but don't worry, camps are going to be built pretty soon. So the Middle East was divided between the Russians and the Iranians, who actually took nothing more than Iraq, and now we've got a great Socialist Republic of Iran, and the rest of the countries are now Russian colonies. They're definitely struggling to defeat Afghanistan and capture Kabul, the last stronghold of tribalism. Unexpectedly, something is even happening in the New Zealand. So the government of New Zealand stays alone without the Entente, and now they are fighting against the French national state and the Empire of Japan as well. And Japan has made a naval invasion into the New Zealand. This campaign is truly a unique one because nothing ever happened in New Zealand and boom, something has finally happened even in that place. Yeah, the question of Afghanistan was finally solved. And now it is in the Russian sphere of influence. And yeah, in 1950, the Union of Britain has finally capitulated, and that's what has happened with Europe, that's how it was divided, and yeah, that's how the Russian partition looks like. Now we've got a social democratic France, because you know what? Russia is a social democratic country. Yeah, that's how democracy works. You can elect different governments in different periods of time. Yeah, the political situation is vastly different than it used to be a few years ago. Also, Russians are still fighting against the Entente, but let's be honest, it's gonna be an endless war because Russians can't land in North America and neither can do the Entente, so yeah, there's gonna be an endless battle for Norway because it is still alive. Yeah, I'm shocked about it as well. Damn, what a cool guy is ruling Germany. Gustav Noske, a man with an amazing mustache, a cool hat and cool glasses. Would totally approve his costume, his appearance, And you know what? Such a good can lead the German Republic to its new greatness. Well, the funniest thing of that all is that Germany remained its borders the same as they had in 1936, when Poland gifted some territories back to Germany, and you know, that looks funny, because Germans had no reasons to fight against anyone. However, the rest of the Europe has borders that can remind us of 2025. In some cases, it is pretty much the same like Austria and Italy, but in the other cases, like Spain, yeah, that's a bit different situation. However, even the Middle East has some shapes that can remind us of 2025, and even Libya has the same one as we see in 2025 when countries divided into two parts, into Western one and Eastern one. The Chinese Empire has grown pretty much, but the Uyghur camps are still not under the control of the Qin Empire and its Emperor Puyi. Oh yeah, goodbye Australia. Well, I'm not surprised that Göring hasn't conquered anything and he is just staying in his positions in Tanzania. We also see the rebirth of the United States, a true one United States, but this time with Baja California. And what's even more interesting is that they've got only two parties. One is social liberal and the other one is radical socialist. Well, that is how the Democratic Party is divided today, so technically it works. New York City knows about it more than we do. What can I say about this campaign? It was definitely worth to try it because Kaiserredux is the best modification in Hoi 4. And that's not an exaggeration. Cause I had so much content to describe while simply watching things that are happening in Europe, Asia, Middle East, Africa, and even Oceania. And you know what? The borders of 2025 has affected this campaign a lot because it allowed some countries to grow pretty big while others were defeated pretty easily, like Turkey. And sometimes you are just the United States of America.